Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream of Little Learning Machines. We're excited to hang out with you all today. Today we're going to be exploring another island in the world of Little Learning Machines, Cottage Cove. So we're excited to get into that one. But last time, if you tuned in with us, we were exploring Harvest Hill, which you can see here. It's really beautiful, all cozy vibes island. I do say so myself. And yeah, for those of you that are new, Little Learning Machines is a cozy artificial life sim where you train these adorable little robots to complete quests and explore their world. And each of these little robots is a real neural network. So by playing the game, you're actually training real AI, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so if you want to check out our past streams, or if you missed any of them, they're all on our YouTube channel, which I have been posting in the Discord Little Learning Machines text channel. So if you want to catch up on any other previous streams, please check in there. And with that being said, we are kind of going to do a quick recap, I guess, where we left off. Do one of you guys want to comment on the island we're on?
Yeah, so last week we introduced, last week we did Autumn Island. We didn't complete everything on here, but what we did do is we kind of like completed the first quest, which was just releasing the Autonomo from the trees. First quest was needed us to basically teach the Animo to want to use an axe and cut down trees. What we did is we just made it love cutting down trees. What you could have done potentially is make it want to be closer to an Autonomo, because you can train with them, which is quite important. We also went over some of the kind of more advanced, this like third guy, you know, he's got a larger vision. We also went over compasses, so we made sure that we had a compass on an axe and a compass on a tree. These other three we could have set up better, but making sure that we know that stuff. And so basically, as you can see, Marsha still loves her axe. It's doing her thing. She's trying to find trees to go cut. But yeah, she's doing good. And yeah, basically we're gonna be moving on to Garden Island, which is kind of at the same time, available at the same time as Autumn. So, because they kind of covered similar types of learning, but basically rather than destroying objects, it's about transforming objects. So let's go in college.
Exciting. So this is a super cute island. I love this island.
This, I don't think everyone shares this love, but this is my favorite song in the game. I don't know. I think just like weird tubas, like it's just so funny to me. Like I would wake up almost every morning and this song would be playing in my head, which is actually quite lovely because we're good. So like usually, we're kind of going through the discovery phase. So when you first find a new island, we need to make sure that the user can find the items that they will need to kind of like train these behaviors. So in this one, I think we have the wilted daisy, just a regular daisy. So that, and I think probably we have an Autonomo who waters all flowers. So we kind of got into the idea of Autonomo last week a little bit, but I think we can get into them a bit more today.
This was difficult to write because the whole idea of there being Autonomo was kind of a surprise. But we don't know which island the player goes to first.
Yeah.
So we had to write it in a way that was kind of a surprise, regardless of what island you go to. But then also not a surprise if you went to the wrong island. But yeah.
Exactly. So this island's like,
I don't know if there's a wrong one, but sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the idea that we had here was like to kind of have two different versions of the same kind of quest. In kind of two different spaces, where obviously the Autumn one is kind of like darker, it's moodier, it kind of shows the industrialization of the old planet, whereas this one's cozy. They both have Autonomo. This one's cozy, but rather than the Autonomo in the previous one cutting down trees, this one kind of is just infinitely watering flowers for ever and ever.
Silver asks which island we wanted the players to go first. We were hoping like to make it like a fair choice that no matter which one you pick, you have a good time. I actually think this one is the easier island out of the two of them. The chopping down the autonomo is fairly hard.
Yeah,
that's a great question. So we are on here. We haven't covered which quests, or have we? I forget. We've covered what items you can discover here, but what exactly are the quests that we go through?
So there's there's a whole bunch of extra quests in this one that are just like, to kind of like help you learn some different kind of techniques about using items to change the environment by not destroying it. So there are some items like the wilted flower, the seed that you can plant. So we have the simplest one, which is just learn how to water flowers. That's the simplest thing you can do. That's kind of like picking up an axe and cutting a tree, but in this way, you got to water the flower. It's slightly complicated because if an animo steps on a flower, it will wilt it. So it kind of like can create behavior traps and it can do all sorts of stuff, but we can cover that in a bit. This one's very hard, actually. This one seems simple. It's the same with the Autumn Island. There's an Autumn Island crystal collecting where you have to chop through stumps to get the crystals. Surprisingly difficult. This one is, I think, more challenging, which is like making sure that they can collect these crystals without stepping on any of the flowers, which is, or before the flowers wilt. And the whole thing is, if you step on a flower, it will wilt the flower, which means you have to basically avoid them. You can't step on a flower or else you fail the quest. And then, of course, this one is the hardest one. It's give flower to Autonomo. So basically, we want to reward this Autonomo for their hard work. So you have to give a flower to the Autonomo, which surprisingly difficult. I think we can probably start with the most basic, just to like go over some of the main stuff, and then kind of find that behavior trap that we talked about before. Sadly, since I didn't get any more animo before this, I have to choose which one I want to restart. Marsha's my tree cutter, and I think Marsha's pretty advanced. Digby is my my dog petting little dude, and then Billy Bob's my crystal collector. Billy Bob doesn't have enough compasses or anything for, I think, what this kind of quest requires, so I'm gonna have to, I think, go with Digby because they have at least two spots for basically a watering can and potentially a flower, or wilted flower. So let's get started. Digby, good night. Sorry, Digby. The dog petting one is a personal favorite of yours, Tom Scoop. That's awesome. The dog one can be surprisingly interesting, and adding a dog, if you're ever making your own kind of quests on your main island, and adding a dog into it is always just fun. Because they interrupt you and they add a little bit of chaos into it. So we've gotten Digby back down to 0, fresh little Digby, and basically let's get this set up. I have an anticipation of kind of what I want to happen to preview something. But let's start off by basically, getting some wilted daisies and getting some actual daisies. So basically, there's wilted flowers. And then there's actual flowers that become wilted over time. So after about, I think, 30 turns, these flowers turn into wilted flowers and they kind of turn into something else. And so then they'll kind of change their item kind of identity. I can go into that once we start this training a little bit more, or Dante can. And then, we also need a few watering cans.
So one of the things that we ran into when we were kind of designing the way that the little learning machines can see the world is that we wanted to have like a large variety of things. Like we want to have cacti and trees, but they kind of do the same thing. You can plant them, you can grow them, you can chop them down. So in order to like let there be like a lot of visual variety, but without making the animal harder to train, we ended up creating kind of these idea of like duplicates. Like if you go into the item panel, you can see that, for example, for trees, currently we're using the birch tree, but it's the same as the cactus, right? So the animal can't really distinguish between one and another. So if you train an animal to chop down birch trees, it'll also chop down cacti. At some point we were considering making them distinguishable, but we wanted to keep it simple to some degree. But yeah, this way you can have a lot of different variations on the same kind of objects to give you kind of, so that you can like theme your quests appropriately without necessarily making them harder to train.
Exactly. So I set this up quite simply with just a single reward, which is kind of what we do normally to test out something. We'll quickly find a single reward is never enough for advanced behaviors, as much as Danielle will fight with me with that. But I'm just
I feel
going
like we
to
pick on him every week for this opinion. Like every week we just call him out and we're like, this is
Danielle,
his
you're
opinion.
wrong. No, Danielle's never wrong. And so we also kind of talked about wiggle last week a little bit. So just a refresher, the wiggle settings, you unlock them at this point in the game when you unlock Autumn Island and Garden Island. They just add a bit of noise so that the environment changes every time it resets. So in the back, while it's training, it's resetting constantly. It's running at 100 times speed. So every time that the Animo starts and stops on that restarts a little cloud, then it will be slightly different. Therefore, it's not memorizing patterns, it's memorizing actual kinds of observations it has to some extent. So that's the goal. So I'm going to add just a slight wiggle to items and then a slight wiggle to the Animo, which, will move it up enough that we're not going to make it just always just do the same thing. And then 100's probably good. And there's nothing to be destroyed here. We're growing this environment, so this reward isn't required. So let's get it going. And we'll see how this goes. But quickly, as we'll see, while he just gets started, I want to kind of bring up this observation panel. You unlock these observation panels. Some of you will probably read these through and understand them. Some of you read these and still not understand what's going on. We did our best. This one's kind of a more intense version. So basically, we have our observations. The Digby currently, sees all of this space. And this is kind of represented here. But in each of the spaces, the tiles it sees, it kind of breaks it into different kinds of objects. It can see either an item held by an NPC, a regular item, a medium, and the height of or the kind of type of terrain it is. This is kind of advanced. So basically, this is why we need to distinguish between wilted flower and flower. It's that to make sure that it sees them separately. It sees them as a different kind of input on that one of those squares. That's probably not the best way of describing it. Dante could have done a better job.
Can I just say the fact that over the course of maybe 2 years, you've been able to develop you can explain this front to back at length is quite cool.
Thank you.
I'm just saying that if you spend 2 years with this game, you too can explain all of reinforcement learning. I think so. Every time we see these large spikes on this graph, it it makes me want to just like carefully look at the guy to see like, oh, what did it pick up?
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. So he's averaging watering a flower 8 times, almost 9 times per, which is quite good. But his high number, considering it only has 100 turns to do this, is making me think it's cheating the system, which I think we'll see pretty soon.
Yeah. So there's a very obvious trap here, in the way this is like a game trap, and it's fun. I think working with like training little machines kind of feels like game design in a way, in that you won't want to make your levels like easily beatable without skill. And in the case of watering flowers, there's a very simple like mechanic that that the animal can get stuck with, which is the second you step on a flower or like step off a flower, it wilts, and then now it's wilted.
There you go.
And then you can just water it.
He's doing it. Oh,
and then you step off. It's not. It hasn't fully learned the optimization yet, but it's getting close.
Yeah. If we let it get a bit further, it's gonna learn that optimization, and we'll see if we can get it out easily. I think we can. There. That's pretty. There we go. So
yeah. So
go ahead, Dante. Sorry.
Oh no. So it's like if what we wanted this robot to do was make sure all the flowers were not wilted, it's definitely not doing that. And like this is what I like. What we hope the players would run into is like, it's not watering all the flowers. It's just, it's just like continuously stepping on one and then the other and then one and then the other. So there's one quest on the main.
He was trying to water the flowers with the flower.
Yeah. So there's a quest on the garden island that kind of like tests for this, but it's really easy. I think we should have made it a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. But like we really wanted players to like run into this problem and be like, oh, it's doing the thing, but then it's not.
So I think what also happened is because I'm treating I'm basically using Wiggle, which adds some noise to the kind of like actual the layout of the training cloud. That also in itself prevents some of these behaviors, because it's very easy if say if the animo and the items weren't moving around, it would very quickly realize it would find like an ideal kind of optimal state to be in, and which wouldn't be interrupted by these kind of things moving around. It would know that there's a flower here, and it would be able to kind of like repeat that behavior way more consistently. But that little bit of noise prevents it from doing that a little bit, because it's still doing it. It's still in this trap. It's still stepping on them. It's doing that. So let's prevent it from doing that, basically. So quickest way to do that would just be give it a little bit of fear for stepping onto flowers. They can still step onto wilted flowers. We don't care about that. We don't want to penalize them that much. And so since this is -1 and it's still getting +10, and it already we can guarantee that it's going to be getting almost 200 points for this. So it can still, we're not going to traumatize it here, because if it's only -1, it could probably, I expect it probably only get about -30 per round. But that's my hypothesis.
I actually don't think this will be enough to stop it from stepping on the flowers.
You think I need to boost it up?
I'd say so. The whole idea is like, if you're stepping on the flowers and you're getting a -1,
mm-hmm.
But then you can still exploit the idea of like going back and forth between two flowers.
That's a reasonable decision.
Yeah, it's a good decision because you get a +9, right? Yeah. And a +9 is still good.
Right.
So
you're saying I should jack it up to -10 or make them
yeah,
all right.
-10 +10. I'm just saying. This might kill it.
I was gonna say, are we gonna traumatize this little one?
I think we might, but it's on Dante's orders. So, but if we look at the map before we set this up, I think we're in a safe space. If you are averaging, we are averaging 200 hearts for watering flowers right now. And since it shows that we're generally averaging stepping on these flowers 15 times because it was -1 before, that means generally we'll only be getting about -150 as soon as we go up to -10, which is still lower than 200. So we're like, that's the dangerous part, is like as soon as you start giving more negative rewards than positive rewards, you get into a very tricky place.
You get into the I want to jump into the water zone.
Yeah, you very quickly get into I want to just not do this anymore and want to end my situation. But see, like that's a huge optimal move, because it's wasting no time even spinning around. Sometimes it's like doing forward, and then spinning around once, only to go forward again. So that strategy that came up was pretty optimal. But as you see, we're having a dip in both. So it's stepping on less flowers, but it's also watering less flowers. So I think this can be good because the average is still going up, which is the white line. But sometimes that's concerning. If it continued to go down, that's a bad sign. It means Digby is having a crisis.
Oh no!
But now you can see it's the average is continuously going up, which is good. The average is going up, which means we're doing great. And now looks like Digby's averaging about stepping on a flower 4 times per. Once we get it to this point, like I think we could even boost it more, but I don't know. I think we just need to give Digby a bit more chance to optimize, because like I said,
I'm excited. I want to see how many flowers we can have on at the same time. Oh,
add more flowers?
Well, I'm just saying, like, how many flowers, like, with its current setup, how many flowers can it have, like, watered at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
How long do the flowers
moving
last until they wilt, like, by themselves without being stepped on? Because they do wilt by themselves. So how long is that?
Yeah.
50 turns or 30 turns?
30 turns, I'm pretty sure. We should know off the top of our head.
Don't make me look into the code.
What
50.
Oh, that's Daniel. Yay!
All right, Daniel.
I think they were 30 turns at some point, and then we just like, yeah. No, this
look
is
at
good.
this.
It is starting to optimize. It can't. I don't think it'll ever get back to 20 because like it needs to pathfind around the flowers.
Yeah.
But like, look at it. It's not stepped up. The second I say it's not stepping, it's like steps.
It's doing a good job. It's averaging only 2 flowers stepped on per turn, which is, which sometimes might just be it's actually smart. It's like it's got to step on this flower in order to get into a better place to do it. Like,
One of my favorite things is that it just like it recognizes which flowers are not watered.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Sorry,
I just think these guys are cool.
No, totally.
You know what I didn't even do? Let me pause it and then just make sure. Look it, I didn't even assign his compasses. Like, oh gosh.
It's ruined. I'm just kidding.
So now I'm gonna make it harder for it. I know we're gonna clear this first quest. We're way too advanced for this first quest, but we're gonna make. We want Digby. We killed Digby before, so we want to respect Digby and make them very smart. So I want to set a compass for the watering can, and I want to set a compass for wilted flowers, because wilted flowers are the ones that say if they're outside of their vision or what we wanted to see. We want them to see them because we want it to water the wilted flowers. If we put flower out there, it's not very useful for it unless it's trying to like do something to that flower. But mainly we just want it to avoid real flowers. We don't want it to step on them. So that's always in their immediate vicinity. It doesn't really care. It's not stepping on a flower if it's out of its vision. But we do want them to track towards wilted flowers if there are no wilted flowers within its vision. So that's why they would have these 2 compasses. And to prove that, let's make this really hard. And put...
Make the field bigger. Oh man, region tool.
We could. Actually, that's probably smart too, and I should probably diversify. Oh, know what's interesting? If we quickly go down here and look at this first quest, one thing that I didn't consider, which is a beginner mistake for me, is that these flowers are actually surrounded by fences. And since we reset Digby's brain, it doesn't know what a fence is. So we got to add some fences in, or else it will be really confused, because it'll go in here and be like, what is all this stuff around me that I've never seen before? I'm just gonna like panic and probably just spin around in circles, because that's what panicked animal do.
I trust Digby to figure it out. Can we just try?
Want to just try and see if Digby can do it?
Yeah. I trust Digby.
While we let him try, can we talk about more like the narrative behind Cottage Cove and like what's happening here? Why this island?
So
sorry, I was distracted by.
Okay. So this Cottage Cove is weird. It's somebody's house. Whose house? I'm not gonna tell you, but there's obviously a house here, but obviously occupied here at some point, and whoever was taking care of this place obviously cared a lot for it, built all this fencing, set up these gardens, had a little terrace, and ultimately all that's left in this like little island is this one autonomo taking care of things. And obviously the autonomo didn't build a house. The autonomo's kind of stuck just watering the flowers. And like the question would be like, I guess, what happened to whoever kind of set this all up? And that's really the question like we want to leave the players with. It's similar to the question in Autumn Island, which is like, who set all this up? Why did they set all this up? And how come, and what happens when you just leave these like automated machines to take care of things forever? It's one of those that's all I can really talk about with regards to the narrative. There is a couple of details here. Oh, hey, we finished the quest.
Woo!
See, I told you you could do it.
It took him a while. He bumped his head a lot, but finish your thoughts on
that's it.
Thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I mean, there's a couple of details in the island that you can find that kind of reveal a little bit more about kind of how this entire kind of space worked. I mean, I can point them out just for all like 20 people that are going to watch the stream, but if you look behind the house, there's a little generator, and it's obviously powering that like antenna to some degree, and then there's some thoughts there that went into kind of setting that up. And on top of that, there's on the other side of the island, we kind of have this little area that's all being watered. But can we discover the item that's on top of that? Oh, look at that. There's a destructible tombstone. So we can now create graveyard puzzles. But the question just becomes like, why did they have that? So yeah, I mean, I have the answers to those questions, but I'm not going to tell you.
And like Autumn Island, these islands are just kind of, like loosely setting up the context of the world around them and what is happening. And as you kind of go deeper into the game and discover, each island reveals a little bit more information about what happened here, what are autonomo, and why are Animo so special.
They're so special.
Yeah.
So.
Oh wow, he's out. He's out. He watered those flowers. Like he watered all those flowers, then he got out here. Sorry, Fiona.
No. He's a little work hard.
The gamer hint is this puzzle. This one here with the collected crystals becomes easier if you use 2 Animo to solve it. It says do it with 1 Animo, but if you use 2, it's a little bit easier for reasons. But especially if you have someone like Digby helping out, you can solve this to some degree with like a combination of Digby and Billy Bob.
And Billy Bob was the crystal collector?
Yeah. So the quest is collect all the crystals without wilting the flowers. But the flowers wilt in like 50 turns, right? So you need to be a pretty good crystal collector to get them all that quickly, and also be trained to not step on the flowers. But if you have a helper that is making sure your flowers are all, watered, then you have more time.
Yeah. So if because even if we just have Billy Bob, not stepping on flowers and trying to collect these crystals, 50 turns is not that long to make that many decisions. He's got to turn a lot. He's got to be pretty dedicated to not stepping on flowers and collecting those crystals as efficiently as possible. So let's just show this. He's going to fail because he's going to step on a flower very quickly. He's going to step on a flower right here. And then he failed the quest.
Billy Bob.
Oh, look at that! That was a combo!
What happened?
It didn't fail because
because he watered it?
Yeah.
Oh, there, he failed it.
We didn't get the failed sign.
I think that's an alternate fail, but that is a little bit. Also, Billy
and
Bob's
it doesn't count.
symmetry.
It doesn't count if Digby picks up the crystals.
So, since they're collaborating on this quest, could you technically train them in the same island together to, like, get better at this? Or, like, what would you think?
Let's do it!
Wow!
Yeah! So this one that we already set up is pretty good. I want Digby to just also get better. So like I was saying, like I want Digby to be able to like see a water can far away, pick it up, and start and messing with all these things. But what we can do basically is train them to be each other's friends. And we bring Billy Bob in here. He's a master crystal collector. We can now put a whole bunch of crystals in here in difficult places.
Do you think we can train Digby to not collect the crystals as well? Or is that too much?
Oh,
So many questions.
that's hard. But maybe try.
Just to be clear, you can solve this with a single animal. We're experimenting. We're having fun.
We're trying to make them collaborate. So later in the game, there's a lot of focus on collaboration. We kind of kept that till later in the game because, as you'll see right now, it's hard. Even for people who've done this a lot. So getting Animo to collaborate is still kind of like there's a lot of opportunity that we don't even know, and that's kind of always the special thing about animals. I don't know the best ways to make them collaborate. I can get them to do it lots of different things, but I'm sure some people will be better than me, even though I spent forever doing this. But basically, I haven't been checking the chat, but so basically what we want to do here is we want Digby to get the watering can, water as many as it can, and we also want Billy Bob to collect without stepping on the flowers. So basically, when we last trained Billy Bob, he was getting +10 for crystal collecting and -10 for going deep in water. I'm going to switch this to -1 for stepping on flowers, which is just like Digby. And this alone could probably get him good enough to beat this quest. We could just train Digby that way. But so I'll do that. And then to Dante's point.
Once again, we have the situation where Billy Bob could get a +10 for collecting the crystal and a -1 for stepping on the flowers. And I think that's like not a strong enough incentive.
All right. I agree. All right. +10 and -10. All right.
There you go. No shortcuts. No half measures.
All right. I'm willing to do this to Billy Bob. Should we also the question here is, do we want to make Digby avoid crystals? Because in order for them to collaborate on this quest, Digby can't collect a crystal for Billy Bob. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, let's try it. I mean, Digby's already pretty good at what Digby do, so let's just add him like another penalty for collecting crystals. Let's see if it absolutely destroys Digby.
So we are in dangerous territory. We love Digby a lot, but I'm gonna watch this on normal speed at first just to see what's going on.
I already saw Digby collect a bunch of crystals. No, Billy Bob. One thing, when you are training multiple Animo, it is a little bit slower. Your computer is doing more work, double the work, kind of. Not double the work, but like more work to kind of train them both at the same time.
Takes more energy.
And then this case, I probably do want to restart when the crystals are gone. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
So, stop fighting! They also haven't been trained with each other yet, so they actually don't even know what each other are, which is very important. So we will see if that causes anything. So what I'm doing here actually is they entered a state where all the crystals were gone. So the rest of that time is wasted against what we want them to do. Billy Bob is only going to receive negative rewards for stepping on flowers and has no potential to gain positive rewards. So that's why we want to end the session here, which is reset training when crystals are ended. So that's now we got this set up. I think this is good. Let's watch
Dude, the
both.
sounds are so nice.
Oh.
I think Digby's having a hard time finding that watering can.
Yeah.
He's getting there though.
That's another part of Digby's kind of training that we kind of skipped over is finding.
Oh, here we go. Digby's going at it.
E-line
so he's
it.
averaging. He's only collecting one crystal per. No! Okay, this is good.
That's the one Digby. I think Digby just generally doesn't like stepping on items.
Yeah.
I think it learned. I think it didn't learn not to step on flowers. It just learned not to step on any items at all.
True.
So it avoids. It already kind of knows to avoid crystals. This is my favorite part. It's like you don't know what they know, and this is what you gotta like learn about AI. Whenever you hear AI in the news, and someone is like, "The AI thinks about it," it's like they don't know anything. I don't like. I mean, there's some level of like expertise for sure, but a lot of the times they're kind of making like hypotheses or guesses. It's like it's probably doing this because of that, and kind of getting in there and trying to figure out why that's the case is very, very difficult. So that's a lesson about AI. What's up?
You're basically trying to be the AI's therapist, trying to figure out why it's doing what it's doing. But you'll never truly know because you are not it. But I don't know.
I really like that take, Fiona.
Thank you.
I think they're both doing pretty good. Like,
I'm gonna say they look.
Billy Bob's doing a pretty good job at not stepping on flowers, and then he steps on a flower, right?
Every time that's what happens. There's voice recognition to detect when you're talking about your Animo doing something, and then the game decides to make it do the opposite.
Well, why don't we see how because we're down to the last 15 minutes now, so why don't we see how they do, and kind of discuss. Maybe we probably won't have time to train like any. That's great to train any like fixes, but discuss what we might do to fix this if they can't get it done.
All right, let's do it. So let's put Digby in place. Get him ready on call to water some flowers. And let's get Billy Bob in here to collect crystals.
Is there a reason that you
guys.
put Billy Bob as the quest marker, or like, you know what I mean? Does it matter?
Yes, it does, because Billy Bob, the quest is Animo specific. So as you can see, he just failed, I think. As you can see, like the quest is associated with Billy Bob. That means he has to collect the crystals. And that also means if Digby accidentally collects a crystal, it's gonna fail the quest. So the quest has to be.
Try it again.
All right, here we go. Come on, guys.
I trust in our little dudes.
So the quest has to be with Billy Bob, or the quest has to be with whatever Animo's trained to be the crystal collector?
Yeah, whoever you put on there, the quest is associated with them.
Cool.
In this case, we chose Billy Bob because it's a crystal collecting quest. So we want Billy Bob to do it. Because if we put Digby on there, he wouldn't do anything because he's afraid of crystals.
That makes sense.
The other thing is you can move Digby. Oh, wait, we're running out of time. They spend too much time bumping into each other.
They just
No, Billy Bob, please.
they just want to be friends. They don't know how to be friends. They're learning.
Come on, guys. I think
good.
like if we trained it a bit more in that area in the cloud above, and then maybe like played with, I think, just like optimizing that space, maybe with more kind of flowers right away.
Hey, don't shake the baby. We wanted to put this thing so that when you pick them up, they're carrying their item. But we wanted like, how do you get them to drop their item? It's like you shake them to drop their item. It's like we're like, no, let's not shake the baby.
No,
We don't want to
baby.
abuse them. Don't shake the baby.
Okay, so just to loop back quickly, what would we do to kind of improve them for this quest? What were you saying?
So for this quest, I think what you would probably want to do is, I would say ideally you probably wouldn't. Digby getting in there makes this quest harder. We were making this quest harder for ourselves just because we wanted to make. We didn't want Digby to be left out. Ideally, you would just set up a quite. What you need is just Billy Bob just needs to be highly optimized to collect crystals. So I would say what you could easily do is get rid of all of the wilted flowers here. Keep on Wiggle because you definitely want them to be more generalized. So give them lots of opportunity to fail and have to navigate this space. Then provide it with plenty of times to get rewards in between these spaces. And then basically start from here, and then you'll see that it's going to do well because there's so many opportunities for it to fail. It's going to probably start getting those, learning that it shouldn't step on things. I could have made it even harder, actually.
The other thing I would do is reduce the reset time. Right now, it resets every 100 steps, which gives it time to kind of fool around and not get the crystals right away. But if you set it to resetting after 50 steps, it kind of is closer to what the quest actually is, which is like, because at 50 steps, all the crystals are all the flowers are wilted. So if you reset at 50 steps, it kind of puts a time pressure on Billy Bob, so that Billy Bob has to be faster.
Try to stress him
also
out.
do?
Oh, you could do that too.
Oh,
So this I never even thought of this. I never even thought of this. So basically, by doing this, and since they are all, and we're not watering them, so since they are all wilting at the same rate, they will all be destroyed at once, just like in the quest down. I was gonna say downstairs, just like the quest downstairs. But so basically, this puts that timer on it. So as soon as all of the flowers are wilted, then it will kind of cancel and restart the time. So it kind of like acts as a timer. It basically acts as setting this to 50. But
awesome. That's cool.
basically the same thing. Yeah.
So there are a lot of like different things you can tweak to like really hone in on not only like the training but like the time and like the when the resets. Like that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, and I would say just make it harder for them. Like make it way more difficult all the time, just slowly and surely. I would say like right now it seems like it's collecting around the same amount of kind of stepping on flowers. I think you could potentially, if you want, go up to a fear 100 and then really get mad. This is going against what I said before. We're not even collecting 100 in general. I could maybe make that a bit easier if... Oops, no. If I add a bit more kind of crystals, but yeah. Slow increases to the complexity of their levels, reducing the amount of time they have for that level, making sure that you're balancing as soon as you're in a complex situation, assess if you need to increase the rewards and increase them at the right time, like I did. I'm pretty confident Billy Bob's good enough to collect enough crystals for it not to be traumatized and by standing on or stepping onto flowers. This is my hypothesis. These are my tips.
We have a question from Silver,
Yeah.
which is the question I hoped we never received, but Silver's like clever enough to figure it out. Silver's asking, could you literally recreate the quest in the cloud? So no wiggle, just create it exactly, trained to perfection. The short answer is yes for these quests. These quests are pretty small. They're pretty simple. But then you won't get a smart animo. You won't get an animo that can solve every single quest. And then you go to the next quest, which is a little bit different, but requires some of the same behavior. And then you got to start all over again. So it's up to you. Do you want to train an animal that's like really good at one thing, or do you want to train an animal that's like generally good? And later on, there's quests that just don't fit in the cloud that require a little bit more kind of experimentation and general behavior. So for those, it'll be necessary for you to kind of train general behavior rather than just copy the thing. But yeah, to answer your question, you can just recreate the quest. That'll almost guarantee that it'll be able to solve it. But in exchange, you get an animo that can't collect crystals while dodging flowers. You'll just get an animo that can solve that specific puzzle.
Yeah, it will memorize what you've done to it, and it will, if you put it in any other situation, it will be so confused because it's only built for that one specific situation that you've trained it on.
So
he's doing pretty good.
So you're kind of like cramming for a test and memorizing the material the night before, as opposed to actually learning it and like actually
there
absorbing.
You go, Fiona.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And never having, yeah, exactly.
So like, that's it. You don't know anything else. Don't know how to apply it in any way, shape, or form to anything. Cool.
I think Billy Bob's good enough.
Let's do it. We only got a couple minutes left. So if anyone has questions, pop them in the chat while we try this. Yeah, now's the time.
I like how we focused on all the optional quests. We didn't do any of we didn't do the one key quest that you need to do to advance past this island.
We can do that another time. But I feel like if you have learned about how to, water, pick up items, use items on other things. Yeah!
Right away.
Woo!
If baking gloves.
Why are the baking gloves? Oh, right. I forgot who they belong to.
Little chef.
But to Dante's point, we did not talk today about beating this key quest, which is giving a gift to the Autonomo. Based on what we've talked about in the past 2 streams, especially this stream, knowing how to use an item on another character or another thing, using an item on a thing, I think is fairly straightforward. We've used the watering can on flowers, and how would you give a flower to an Autonomo? It's quite similar.
Yeah. Same philosophy. You could apply it across a couple different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so...
One hint I have for that quest... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
One hint I have for that quest, if there's anyone watching this video in the future, is just the Autonomo does not like wilted flowers. So just make sure that you're gifting a flower and not a wilted one. And that means you got to be quick, because it could wilt in your hands and then you got a problem.
Oh.
That's true. The quest is give a flower to the Autonomo, not a wilted dead flower.
That is the trick.
Good catch, Dante.
Alrighty, well, that brings us to the end of today's stream on Cottage Cove. We
did 2.
Yeah, we did 2 quests today, which is pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. And then you gotta just try that 3rd quest yourself to see what happens after. But we will be doing more of these streams coming up in the future. Again, I will update them on our socials, on our Discord, so stay tuned for those. But yeah, today we did 2 quests. We learned how to water flowers, and then we also showed how you can have 2 different animal collaborate to complete a quest such as crystal collecting and watering flowers, which is pretty cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate all the questions and chat from anyone in the chat. And yeah, thank you so much. It just means a lot to us. If you are enjoying this game, it would really mean a lot to us if you head and gave it a review. It really helps. We love to hear what you think. And with that being said, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. See you next week.
Bye.